It's football. I've been watching it for 40 years.
Are you kidding me?
You're listening to Winning Cures Everything.
Game day, baby. Wake up or get out.
Here's your host,
a confident young man, a superb athlete,
Gary Seegers.
Well, off of another huge week for us with the Pooches, the Underdogs. We're back on Three Dog Thursday. Cannot wait to delve into week number 6. Great to be back with you on the video show and the podcast. I am merely the somewhat capable host, TJ Rives. My wingman is Jason Powers. We're both based right here in the Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area in West Central Florida. But wherever you're seeing us, wherever you're finding us, and hopefully more and more of you are finding us, we're thrilled that you have done so. Thanks again to Gary Seegers and the Winning Cures Everything platform. We love cohabitating here. You should love being with us if you've been with us for the first 5 weeks, because we're making you a little dinero if you're taking advantage of the Underdogs here on the program. Brother Powers, good to be back for another week. The calendar has flipped. Dare we call the month Locktober, the month of Locktober potentially on Three Dog Thursday. How you feeling?
Doing well. I went with the brick background because we're just building bricks every week, baby. Building up that cash flow.
Normally the bricks are a bad thing in basketball, but here we're laying the foundation. Dare we say to the audience on Three Dog Thursday here that the show now off a 5-1 week last week. As a matter of fact, that should be 5-1. I will change it for the video audience. Let's be official. There it is.
Don't short us a W.
5-1 week last week. 5-1, kids. We're now 19-10-1 through 5 weeks. This is documented. So we are picking at right at a 68% clip, give or take. Do I need to whisper it again? I've already been on with you on your stuff earlier in the week. Should I whisper? The host is 12-3 in 5 weeks. The host is +9 on the Underdogs. I don't know how long that's going to last, but stay tuned. Nice job from you last week getting the covers with Auburn and the outright win from Oregon. What is James Franklin now? 4-20, 4-21, 4-87 against the top 10. What is up with him? Including they have a touchdown lead in the overtime and can't hold it after they made the comeback and let Oregon get the game retied and then score again and then intercept the pass and beat them. What's up with Penn State real quick as an opening comment?
I think I told you last week I was not impressed with Drew Aller, and he continued to prove me right. Terrible interception in the second overtime. You know, they play so conservative with him for whatever reason, which means they don't trust him. And, boy, Dante Moore showed up when he had to in that overtime and in the second overtime. Give him all the credit in that Oregon team. Not one pre-snap penalty by that Oregon offensive line in the whiteout, 115,000 people, when all the heat was on them in that overtime.
Great point that you make with that. And again, here on the program, you had Oregon outright as a road dog win. I had Alabama outright against Georgia. The late Toby Keith sang the song, "How Do You Like Me Now?" Kalen DeBoer, "How Do You Like Me Now?" to the Alabama fans. And stay tuned because we're going to talk about the Vanderbilt rematch, the game that he lost last year. Remember, last year he beat Georgia and then turned around and lost to Vanderbilt after that in Nashville. Revenge game for them coming up. So, again, that was part of the 5-1 last week. I snuck through with Iowa keeping it close with Indiana. Indiana scoring in the final minute and a half of the game with the touchdown to take the lead. They then had the weird safety trying to run the clock out. It's a cover nonetheless for Iowa. I also had TCU on Friday night, which led the whole game and lost on the field goal, but the hook, the +3.5 was good as well. They all count. We love that. Anything else off of last weekend stand out to you? Illinois bounces back from being bushwhacked by Indiana. They beat USC last week. Ole Miss over LSU last week. Ohio State impressive against Washington out in Seattle. You're going to talk about Washington a little bit later on. Anything else stand out from last week before we move on to this week?
Kick the field goal, Kirby Smart. You're down the whole game. Kick the field goal to tie the game against Alabama. And then you call a clownish play on fourth down, a hurry-up play on fourth down. If you're going to go for it, get in the huddle, get your best running back in the game, and call your best running play.
Yeah, they screwed up earlier in the fourth quarter, and again, Ty Simpson of Alabama has been tremendous throwing the football and was there the other night. All right, what we do here on the programs, thank you again for finding us on the video show on Winning Cures. If you're the podcast audience and you're only hearing us, I'll do my best to illuminate the picks that we have and what the spread numbers are for the underdogs. We're only interested in underdogs. We're not interested in favorites on Three Dog Thursday. We're not interested in totals, any of that. And we've done very well, as you see up on the screen, with the underdogs. If the number goes up or down after the show on Thursday, that's not our problem, as we like to joke, Jason Powers. Whatever the number is on Thursday, that's what we're getting. And there have been a couple of games that we're going to talk about where the line has moved some this week. If it moves some more on Friday or Saturday, so be it, as we release the show on Three Dog Thursday. Why don't we begin and you start us off? Give me underdog number one. Are you going Big Ten, and are you going right at Illinois, the team that won last week over Southern Cal at home in the Big Noon kickoff game? We're back with an early start with Purdue hosting Illinois. You're going there. Why?
I am. I think this is a kind of a letdown spot for Illinois. The dramatic win against USC, last-second field goal at the gun to win the game, coming off the week before they got destroyed by Indiana. Purdue coming off of a bye. You had Purdue a couple weeks ago against Notre Dame. They barely got there, but they got there against Notre Dame. On the road in West Lafayette, I think that's going to help Purdue a little bit. Again, do I think Purdue's going to win the game? I don't, but I think 9.5 is a little rich for me for Illinois laying it. Again, last year they played a 50-49 overtime game in Champaign.
Wow. Yeah.
Great game last year. Remember, Illinois' corners depleted. It didn't affect them last week as much, though the USC quarterback threw for like 350. So he moved the ball. They moved the ball up and down the field on Illinois. And Ryan Brown's a pretty decent quarterback for Purdue. Threw 3 touchdowns last year against Illinois Champaign. I think Barry Odom will keep it close coming off the bye. Illinois is not going to run away and hide in this game. I think Illinois wins a close one, but I'll take Purdue plus the 9.5.
All right, so 9.5 is our number. A couple of other numbers. Brett Bielema. I love Gary's insight, and I get this stuff off of Winning Cures. You should be watching it. You should be liked and subscribed here on the channel. Gary had the number Brett Bielema 4-1. His last 5 ATS as a road favorite. For what it's worth, that's not just obviously this season, last season. It's just the last 5 since he's been there. However, Purdue's 7-2 straight up in the last 9 meetings. Obviously, new coaching staff with Barry Odom. 7-2 straight up against Illinois in the last 9 meetings. That's in your favor. You'll take the 9.5. That's doggy number one on Three Dog Thursday. Let's go simultaneously at noon to the Big 12. I love talking Big 12 football, not only on this show, but on the Big 12 Game Day show on TuneIn, the 3-hour preview show that's heard Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern time on the Big 12 radio channel on TuneIn, the digital channel that's everything Big 12. I get the privilege of talking up that conference's football in the preview mode. I'm going to talk a lot, obviously, on that show about this Iowa State matchup with Cincinnati. All right, both teams off conference wins last week, Jason Powers. Iowa State hammered Arizona at home. Liked that performance from Rocco Becht and company. They ran it well on Arizona defense, played well. Cincinnati won a shootout at Kansas. Brennan Sorsby, the quarterback, fantastic in the game, including leading the game-winning touchdown drive in the final minute of the game, despite over 400 yards and 5 combined touchdowns from Jalen Daniels, the Kansas quarterback. Cincinnati overcame that. Great road win for them. Yes. All right, now they're back home. This is early in the day. Something says to me that Rocco Becht and the Cyclones are on a mission. They're going to get this win on the road early on campus at Cincinnati. I'll grab that 1.5 and I'll take them outright. This line, as Gary was saying, actually opened as Iowa State like a 1-point favorite. A lot of money came in on Cincinnati and moved it to plus 1.5. I'll take it. I think Iowa State wins the game. Thoughts from you real quick?
Close game here. I think it's Nippert Stadium up in Cincinnati. It's always been a pretty tough place to play for most opponents. A little nervous because your cornerbacks, TJ, news came out on Wednesday. Couple corners for Iowa State starters, not going to play and maybe out for the year. So I worry a little bit there with all the offensive firepower with Sorsby. But again, if Rocco Becht's in that game in the fourth quarter, I like Rocco if he gets the ball last and he's got to score to win the game. I'll take Rocco Becht all day.
Again, I'll take Iowa State early, noon Eastern time, 11 a.m. Central time, and the 1.5 against Cincinnati. We rock on here on Three Dog Thursday. Let's continue with the underdogs. Where are you going next? Are you going to the ACC? I believe you are. What stands out about a Wake Forest matchup as the Pooch at Virginia Tech, sir?
You know, if you saw last week, Wake Forest took Georgia Tech to the wire. They were winning most of that game. Georgia Tech scored late to get that game to overtime. Then Tech scored. Wake Forest then scored in overtime and decided to go for 2 to win. Didn't convert. Lose 30-29 in Winston-Salem. I don't love Robbie Ashford. It seems like he's been in college for 100 years at about 5 different schools. And that's probably about right. The number of schools is probably right. He's been all over the place. They run the ball a lot. I think this is going to be a lower possession game. Give Virginia Tech credit. Nice win last week at North Carolina State with the new coach, Philip Montgomery, who replaced Brent Pry. I don't know how good Virginia Tech is. I just don't think they're necessarily 7 points better than Wake Forest. I do like, again, I was encouraged by the competitiveness of Wake Forest last week. Give me the 6.5. I think this is a close game, 3-4 point game either way. But I like getting Wake Forest set plus 6.5 on the road in Blacksburg. You will not have the home field advantage that you would normally have if Virginia Tech was good. That building will probably be half empty. I know there's a little bit of encouragement, but it's not going to be anywhere near what it could be if they were winning big. Give me Wake Forest in the 6.5. Robbie Ashford, please don't turn it over, man. Just run the ball and keep the possessions low.
You know, I have much love for you. Wake Forest is 1-14 straight up as an underdog in their last 15 games. Gary was giving that stat out. I hope you're going to buck that trend. I mean, 1-14 is eye-opening. However, Virginia Tech just 1-5 ATS in their last 6 games going back to the end of last season. So, and Brent Pry got fired back a couple of weeks ago, as you made mention. Jason again is saying, give me the ACC road doggy in this case with the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. This is a 1 Eastern time, noon Central time game in Blacksburg. I don't know what kind of crowd they're going to have or not have. Stay tuned for that on Saturday for that ACC matchup. It is Three Dog Thursday. We rock along here on the video show and the podcast. I owe you another underdog, and let's go to an old Southwest Conference matchup. They're now Big 12 rivals. How about Houston hosting Texas Tech in a matchup that is coming up on Saturday night in H-Town here? Both teams have been impressive so far this year, unbeaten. Texas Tech has the best win out of both of them by winning at Utah. That was 2 weeks ago. They now have had the week off, bye week for them, moving into this conference game. Houston last week on Friday night struggled the whole game against winless Oregon State, finally came back in the fourth quarter and won the game, I believe, 27-24 for Willie Fritz's team. Houston now getting 11 points on Three Dog Thursday here at home. A couple of numbers for this. Texas Tech is 6-0 straight up and 5-1 in the last 6 meetings ATS against Texas Tech. That's a negative. That's a negative for me. 6-0 is 6-0. Again, not all of that is Joey McGuire, the Texas Tech coach, and not all of it is Willie Fritz, who's only in his second year at Houston. But that one can be a little striking in that one. Fritz, though, by the way, is 9-5 as a home dog as the head coach at Tulane and now at Houston. 9-5 in the last 14 as a home dog. He was 2-0 last year straight up as a home underdog. I don't know that they win the game, but Jason, I think they keep it close enough for the 11 points against what's a really good Texas Tech team. Now, they've been going to the backup quarterback. Baron Morton, the veteran quarterback, got hurt in the Utah game, so they went to the backup. It's unclear, will both of them play? Can Morton play as we sit here on Three Dog Thursday? But your thought on Texas Tech at Houston?
Willie Fritz has always been a really, really good coach when he's had close to even talent as an underdog. I mean, he's like you mentioned at Tulane. He's been a really good underdog coach while he was at Tulane. He's building that Houston program back to where it can be. So I think that's an interesting thing. again, Texas Tech defensively, they were very impressive at Utah, so I liked what they did there. Keep it close. Keep it close. That's why we have to pick the doggies here. Keep it close.
We love the Pooches. And again, this will be a night game at Houston. They were very familiar with each other, not these coaching staffs, but as programs in the Southwest Conference. Houston has now come into the Big 12 where Texas Tech has been, and they now will tee it up here in this matchup in H-Town. All right, 2 more underdogs to go here on the program. We'll get to those in a moment. First, however, let's tell you a little more about one of our sponsors, and that's our friends at TicketSmarter. TicketSmarter wants you to know to utilize their mobile app and or their service for the best prices on the secondary market. Their algorithm has great competitive pricing. Utilize it and utilize it for these college games this weekend. I mean, we're going to be touching on the Miami-Florida State game coming up. We're going to be touching on the Alabama rematch with Vanderbilt in Tuscaloosa. We've already talked about a couple of other games of interest, Iowa State and Cincinnati for a fascinating matchup, the Purdue-Illinois game in West Lafayette. Any of these bigger matchups, whether it's a game involving Ohio State at home, they should roll against Minnesota. We're going to talk about Texas and Florida. For all these biggest matchups in college football, use TicketSmarter.
Baseball too, TJ. The baseball playoffs,
right? But all the college football biggest matchups. Yes. TicketSmarter mobile app. We got 2 promo codes. Any order $100 or more, take $10 off with the promo code WCE. The Winning Cures Everything platform right here. WCE10 takes $10 off. And if you spend $300 or more, which you're going to have to for the biggest matchups, like the Florida State Miami game, you're not getting 2 lower level outstanding seats for anything under $300. Trust us on that. Use WCE20 for all these big matchups. Use the promo code WCE20, $20 off your order, $300 or more with TicketSmarter, the TicketSmarter mobile app. Again, baseball playoffs, as Jason mentioned, the NFL, concerts, whatever. Use those promo codes as often as you want. Again, a lot of these secondary market sponsors, they only allow you to use the promo code one time, Jason. Use this promo code, either WCE10 or WCE20, as much as you want. Think smarter, TicketSmarter. Get in the game with TicketSmarter. They are proud sponsors. Plug away, obviously, for them. Let's go back to the underdogs, and you're going to go back for the second time to the Big Ten. A couple large dogs with Wisconsin at Michigan, with Minnesota at Ohio State. You don't like those doggies. What doggy do you like? We see it on the video screen, but for the pod audience, what do you like and why?
We are going to the DMV, baby, the place where the government is shutting it down for a little while, taking a little vacation.
Right. They will play, however, the game. Maryland and Washington is not affected by the government shutdown in College Park. Yeah,
it's not a federal facility that we know of, so there should be people in the building come Saturday. The Maryland Terrapins, again, undefeated so far, 4-0. Mike Loxley, freshman quarterback. Malik Washington was a big recruit for Maryland. He's a kid from the DMV, so they kept him home. He's playing well for them. And here's something to be aware of. Again, what's the physical toll of having to play Ohio State last week? They lose the game in a very physical game. Now you have to get on a plane and go about as far as you can go from west to east. You'll lose 3 hours on the body clock. I know it's a 3:30 kick, which means it's a 12 o'clock Pacific kick, but the air miles are still the air miles. Takes a little toll on you. Damon Williams, the quarterback for Washington, a good player. Maryland leads the country in number of sacks so far through 4 weeks. The Washington offensive line, not great in pass protection.
Did you say leads the country, not just the ACC, the Maryland Terrapins?
Country in sacks per game.
Good to know.
I like that. And if you look at the Maryland schedule, if they were to win this game, they've already beaten Wisconsin, who they'd never beaten before. They win this game, by the way, only the second time these two teams have ever played. You know when the first one was?
I'm thinking it's before both of us were born in the 70s.
No, not quite. Early 80s for you, TJ. You were a young man. The 1982 Aloha Bowl.
Who had the Aloha Bowl on the bingo card on 3 Dog Thursday? I love that. I see your Aloha Bowl, and I may trumpet coming up with a CarQuest Bowl. Stand by later on in the program. But yes, so Maryland and Washington have not met. They obviously are now Big Ten opponents. Washington's second year in the Big Ten, and you're right. You got to come all the way from Seattle to come to College Park and play this game. Do you want a stat to back your play? Gary was giving this stat out. Washington ventured outside the Pacific time zone 4 times last year. 0-4 ATS for the Huskies outside the Pacific time zone last year in road contests. That's in your favor. Let's see what Maryland can do in this game. Final thought? Anything else?
One more little nugget for you. If Maryland can win this game, look at their schedule. They'll be 5-0, 2-0 in the Big Ten. They don't play Oregon. They don't play Penn State. They don't play Ohio State. So keep an eye on Maryland as a sneaky 10, 11, 12 seed playoff kind of team. If they can win this game with not those 3 guys not on the schedule, be careful here. Be an opportunity here. If you can win this game at home, I think 6.5 is way too many. I think Maryland can win the game outright. But I'll take the 6.5 at home all day.
Maryland and Washington will be on the Big Ten Network at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific time in the afternoon. And Jason says, give me the Terps. Fear the turtle, he says, plus the 6.5 in that Big Ten matchup. Still takes some getting used to with Washington, Oregon, USC, and UCLA. I mean, they're playing UCLA and Northwestern last week, and they're going Big Ten game, and you're used to going Rose Bowl. That's now when
Penn State goes to UCLA this week.
Yeah, it's crazy, these games. All right, I've got one more, and you and I, this is near and dear to us. This is Florida State and Miami. This is in Tallahassee. This is FSU off that Friday night game. Brother Powers, you were a soothsayer last week. I asked you in the extra games and the honorable mention, what about Friday night for Virginia? And you were like salivating over the Cavaliers plus the 6.5. They win the game in double overtime outright. I wish you would officially have pulled the trigger. I should almost give you credit for that game last week. Scary field storm by the Virginia students out of that end zone, rushing thousands of them onto the field. So, we've talked about that, meted that out. They've been fined $50,000 by the ACC. I don't know what that really means. But now Florida State off the loss at home with Miami. Hated rivalry game going back 45 years to the early 80s. What were we establishing? Danny McManus against Bernie Kosar back in the day. And you start going down the list. Let's start going down the list of who's played in this rivalry, from Michael Irvin to Derek Brooks,
Charlie Ward,
Ray Lewis to Charlie Ward,
Sean Taylor
to Jameis Winston, Willis McGahee. Pick Casey Weldon, pick them here in these different matchups for Florida State and Miami. Something just says to me that the Noles here, with all the emotion at home, they realize they don't need a second ACC loss. You're going to detail more about that in a moment. I like them here in the spot. We talk all the time about the spot. I like them at home, prime time in the spot. Now tell me more here about this game from your standpoint.
No, I mean, this is almost an Armageddon game for FSU for this year, because you lose this game, that's 2 losses. You lose the tiebreaker to Virginia. You would lose the tiebreaker, obviously, to Miami. So this is a critical game, because I think Florida State needs to get to the title game in order to get a second team from the ACC into the tournament potentially. So this is a critical game. The defense at Florida State was not very good in Charlottesville. Give Virginia credit. You had the big drop pass by the receiver in double overtime, which really hurt them. But again, this is back to the old days when we used to love it, where the winner of this game was in the prime spot to be in a national championship scenario. And if Miami wins this game, I think they are set going to the ACC title game. No Clemson, no Georgia Tech on the schedule. I think this is a huge game for Miami to cement their path to the title game in the ACC. Carson Beck, again, we saw them against Florida, but I'm with you. I think close game. I think Miami somehow finds a way to win, but I think 4.5 may be a little too much. Home field advantage, prime time. I like the pick.
Interesting here that, again, for Miami, they have the win over Florida, as you mentioned. They have the win over Notre Dame. This would be another huge win. I know some of the luster's off of it, but this is a resume builder for Miami also. But there's a couple of numbers. Gary was giving these numbers out. Miami, last 10 games as a single-digit favorite against an ACC team. 2-8 for Mario Cristobal. That's a lot of that is Mario Cristobal over the last 3 seasons. Also, the underdog in this series, of which Florida State is 14-6 ATS the last 20 games. I'll take that. The underdog has won 9 of those 14 outright.
Right.
Hello. So I like Florida State, and it would not surprise me if they win this. I mean, you and I were reminiscing, and we might as well plug it right now while we're here. The Florida Football Insiders podcast, wherever you get podcasts. We were on your pod talking this game. There was nothing like a Saturday afternoon with Keith Jackson and Bob Greasy doing this game in the 90s. I even go back to like the 80s with Brent Musburger and Ara Parsegian doing the game on CBS a couple of times.
Yes.
Back in the heyday when Florida State would be like number 1 and Miami would be like number 3, or Miami would be number 1 or Florida State would be number 4.
Yep.
Again, Florida Football Insiders is where we talked this game up. It's a podcast. Go find it wherever you get podcasts. We had a blast talking this game up and all the nostalgia, but you always knew that it was a big game, a huge game in the state of Florida, a huge game for recruiting all over the state of Florida. It meant a lot, Jason. Pick up on that.
Kids all know each other. A lot of these guys played high school football together. Obviously, a little bit different now with all the transfers, but still, you still have the rivalry. And with Florida struggling in Gainesville, this is for state supremacy. The winner of this game, obviously, can catapult themselves back into the playoff hunt. Miami wins this game. They are the clear champions of the state of Florida for 2025. So, again, big game for Cristobal. I think Miami has the advantage in the trenches. But, again, home field, emotion, night game at Tallahassee. I think that's going to keep Florida State in the game. And can that defense at Florida State, can they contain that running attack by Miami? I think that's going to be the key.
For Florida State, you don't want that second ACC loss. The ACC doesn't want that either. With what else we're going to talk about here in a couple of moments. Remember the Ibis, the mascot, the bird from Miami, would always hold up the state champs sign when they had beaten Florida and Florida State. They got a chance to do that again if they can beat the Seminoles, and being the state champs helps you maybe be the national champ too. Stay tuned for this one, Saturday night, ABC, Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit calling it. Interesting that game day is not there for Florida State and Miami. They were
would
there
have
for
been.
Miami.
Would they have been there if Florida State doesn't lose last week?
If Florida State wins, they probably would have been there. They're electing to go to another game that we're going to talk about here in a couple of moments. They had been at Miami and Florida back a couple of weeks ago. They try to spread it around. I like the Noles, though, for my third and final underdog. We'll recap those in a moment. Few moments left. We always like the honorable mention. All right, noon game in Chapel Hill with both teams off the bye. North Carolina hosting Clemson as a 13.5-point favorite. Again, I have no belief in Bill Belichick lasting long-term at North Carolina. I think Clemson, but goodness great. I mean, Clemson before the bye, not good against Syracuse, and they lose at home. Is that line too big? You didn't take it. I didn't touch it on Three Dog Thursday. Anything there?
I mean, again, I watched Carolina play against UCF, and they were pitiful. I took them against UCF a couple weeks back.
Right.
To my detriment on the statistics. Clemson, I just don't trust them. But again, I can't see a scenario where Carolina wins the game. Could they backdoor this and score late to get under 14? They could, but I think Clemson will win this game comfortably.
Defensively, North Carolina not very good. Will Cade Klubnik be good at the beginning of the game? He was not very good against Syracuse. He's been often criticized over his last 2+ years of quarterbacking at Clemson. Let's see if that continues. And you want the stat, don't you? This is only the second time ever that a multiple Super Bowl champion in the NFL as a coach has come into college football and then coached against a multiple national champion college coach. So that's Belichick with the multiple Super Bowls, Dabo with the multiple national championships. The last time is the 1993 CarQuest Bowl. That makes
Blockbuster. Videos.
It had several different incarnations. It was the Blockbuster Video Bowl game. That is Bill Walsh as a multi-time Super Bowl champion with the 49ers going against Joe Paterno as the multi-time national title coach of Penn State. Walsh's Stanford Cardinal won the game that day 24-3. And that's the only other time a multiple Super Bowl winning coach has gone into college football and played a multiple national championship college football coach. Fascinating stat on the Nugget. Stay tuned for North Carolina Clemson. Anything else, or shall we move on?
Steve Stentrum and Glenn Milburn back in the day.
To you quoting the Stanford 1992 roster in the 1993 Blockbuster Video Bowl. Be kind and rewind, brother, from Blockbuster Video. All right. Let's move on. SEC games to wrap it up. This is revenge for Alabama with Vanderbilt at 3:30 Eastern Time, 2:30 Central Time in Tuscaloosa. Bama off the win over Georgia. Again, Kalen DeBoer's got to be riding high, feeling good after the win, but is this a danger spot when Vandy beat them a year ago? What say you with Vandy getting 10.5 for Three Dog Thursday purposes?
I can promise you Kalen DeBoer has their full attention this week. Coming off the Georgia win, you will not see any lay down. I think if Alabama can score 100, they will score 100 this week. The pedal will not get taken off the gas. I think this is a game. If I'm Vanderbilt, you better get off to a good start or it's going to get ugly. I think because Pavi, we know what Pavi is as a emotional Energizer Bunny kind of guy with that offense. But Alabama, with what they showed last week, I know their defense isn't great, but boy, Ty Simpson, just imagine if Ryan Williams doesn't drop that touchdown pass early in the game. I think that Alabama offense is going to keep it humming against Vanderbilt in Tuscaloosa.
And again, Ryan Williams had the concussion in the FSU game, and he's dropped some passes in their last couple of games. Let's see if he gets it together. They've got Jam Miller, the running back, who had the collarbone injury, I think, earlier in the preseason that had him out the first 2 or 3
the
games.
other receiver's really good.
Yeah. All right, and Pavi is a mobile quarterback. They always seem to give Alabama trouble. So, yes, Vanderbilt won the game a year ago in Nashville. Great second half for them. Alabama was winning the game, and Pavia took the game over. The previous 4 games before last year, Alabama won by an average of 40 points a game under Nick Saban. Does Kalen DeBoer put together that kind of game here in Tuscaloosa to validate the Georgia win, avenge the loss last year? Stay tuned. We're both staying away from Vanderbilt and the points. One more game about 90 minutes from where we are in Gainesville, up the road, up I-75, is Florida hosting Texas. Both teams off the bye. I'm just saying to the Winning Cures audience and our podcast audience on Three Dog Thursday, the Wolves are at the door right now for Billy Napier, even after the bye week. What do we suspect here? Gators getting 6.5 at home against Arch Manning in Texas. A thought or two, Jason, real quick before we're gone.
I think this game comes down to which quarterback plays the best. I mean, again, both these guys were highly touted coming into the year. Arch, Lagway, and both of them, for various reasons, has just not played really well. Obviously, Arch has played a little bit better than Lagway, but we saw Lagway through 5 picks. The offensive scheme against Miami was very pedestrian, and they couldn't move the ball. I think Texas has a big defense. Florida's got a good defense, but I would give the advantage to Sarkisian calling plays here off the bye week over I would Billy Napier. Again, I think Arch he'll make it easier for Arch to complete passes, but I would lean on that Texas defense. And again, you mentioned the Wolves. I think this is Armageddon kind of situation for Billy. It still may not be enough, even if it wins, because what does he have left? A&M, Tennessee, Georgia, Ole Miss, Florida State.
Crazy.
Then you have to go to Mississippi State, who's vastly improved. Florida might not win another game this year, TJ. Hate to say that. It's feasible that they don't.
And if they get beat badly here, I don't know what you're waiting on. Certainly, they may be waiting on the Texas A&M road game next week. But you got the boosters, the biggest money people. They wanted him gone a year ago. And if you come off the bye here and you're not any better with Texas at home, let's see if it's a close game. Again, Florida getting 6.5 at home. A couple of numbers: Texas 3-0 straight up last year, but 1-2 against the spread in SEC road games for Sarkisian, for what it's worth. Florida just 3-4 straight up in the last 7 SEC home games. 3-4. Where have you gone? The dominant Urban Meyer and Steve Spurrier era Florida teams just doesn't exist. So again, that game 3:30 Eastern time from the Swamp. Is Texas going to thump Florida and basically seal the deal on Billy Napier being gone? Sunbelt Billy taking all kinds of criticism every which direction. All right, by means of recap, let's go over what we are after here on the program. You say Big Ten game to start it right away on Saturday, Purdue plus the 9.5 with Illinois. Illinois off that last-second win over USC. Do they have a little letdown? I'll take Iowa State despite the defensive injuries to win the game and give me the 1.5 at Cincinnati early in the Big 12. You will take Wake Forest in the ACC and 6.5 against Virginia Tech. In the Battle of the Big 12 in Houston, in the Lone Star State, I'll take Houston and the 11 points against Texas Tech with both teams off the bye, the old Southwest Conference foes. 6 Central Time on that game Saturday night. We'll back up to 3:30 Eastern Time. You like Maryland over Washington in the matchup between the Big Ten teams. It's weird to say that. Washington coming all the way east and Maryland getting 6.5 points. And I took Florida State in the tremendous grudge match for the state of Florida. Can FSU get back on the winning track? I like the 4.5. I like them to potentially win this game with Miami. Yep. Stay tuned. There's the 6 underdogs that we're going for on the record. We put our record back up one more time that we were 5-1 ATS last week, 19-10-1 through 5 weeks. We hope it continues. Final thoughts, Jason Powers, before we are done and gone here on the program.
This is not a great slate of games this weekend in totality, but again, conference play starts for everybody. You're going to have nothing but conference games the next 6-7 weeks all over the country. So you're going to see a lot of different teams get beat, road favorites go down on the road. So there'll be a lot of twists and turn here in these conference games as we move throughout the month of October and Locktober, hopefully here on 3 Dog Thursday.
And so let's hope it is Locktober. We just gave you some thoughts on 9 games and picked 6 of them against the number just underdogs. Again, for the podcast audience, come find the video show on the Winning Cures Everything platform on YouTube, as well as winningcureseverything.com. Video audience, take us in the AirPods, the earbuds, the Bluetooth. You can find us on podcast, wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, for all of it with 3 Dog Thursday. Brother Powers, good luck with the underdogs for this week. I always love having you. Let's have another great month here on 3 Dog Thursday. Anything else? Are we good? We ready for some football this weekend?
Let's go. Catch you a salmon out in Seattle, baby.
I'm headed to Seattle. I'm headed to Seattle with the Buccaneers. You see that hat, the throwback Buccaneers Seahawks game from 1976 in the NFL on Sunday. I got to find a location to watch these Florida games, Florida against Texas, Florida State, and Miami. Yes. Somehow I don't think the sports bars will have that readily available in the Pacific Northwest. We got to go find a TV somewhere out in Seattle with everything. And the Mariners baseball playoffs going on too on Saturday as well for the college football.
I'll be watching Seattle or Washington and Maryland.
They'll be all about that. Stay tuned on that. All right. Nice job, Jason Powers. Thanks again to Gary Seegers for letting us cohabitate here on winningcureseverything.com. We're doing well. We're doing well with the underdogs. Let's see if we keep it up. For now, we're good here on the video show and the pod with 3 Dog Thursday. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Subscribe, leave a review or comment, follow @GaryWCE on X, and check out the web store